Hey Hacky Sack Club, it's me, the one and only Peter the Soap Man here with my first ever written game review. Now, before I get into it, I gotta thank y'all. I see you 11 subs, and to each and every one of you I've got to say, you all are the real heroes. Now today I'm taking a look at Spinch, a 2020 indie game by Queen Bee and Acupara Games, designed by comic artist Jesse Jacobs of Adventure Time fame. If you know me, you know Adventure Time and psychedelic art are two of my favorite things. So I was immediately captivated when I saw the trailer. There's a few things I want to keep in mind when discussing this game. One, it's $15, and two, I suck at platformers and rarely ever play them. Hell, the only 2D course clear platformer I've ever played front to back was New Super Mario Bros. DS, which I have a love-hate relationship. Basically what I'm saying is that I am the perfect person to review this game. Please, treat every word of mine like it is scripture. So let's get into it. The game starts with an ultra cute intro, delivering the hard-hitting lore of the Spinch universe. Colors are alive, which so far there's nothing separating this game world from our own. The text blocks are immediately charming. The OST is comprised of these lo-fi trip club bumpers, and the overall presentation is adorable. Now the twist comes where it turns out the living colors are the bad guys, and they feast on our little dumpling Spinch and its children. As we all know, baby flesh is the supplest and most nourishing of the Spinch species. This brings us into the tutorial segment, which wastes no time introducing the core gameplay loop of left-to-right platforming, avoiding all things rainbow, and rescuing your scattered children, often placed in slightly precarious positions, usually presenting a simple navigation challenge. As far as controls go, you've got the simple jump and dash, both of which are satisfying, allowing you to quickly gain and keep momentum. You can also wall cling, jump, and cycle to scale any vertical surface. Overall, the controls are simple and the game feels great. The tutorial closes with colors slurping up your children and taking them to the next world, essentially the Enter World 1, and I'm immediately struck by how dense and detailed the environments are. The enemies are cute yet horrifying, like they tossed a vat of acid onto some Goombas. I noticed while playing that if I'm not focused on Spinch, my eyes will quickly be lost in the spectacle. It's quite psychedelic, bro. Enemies aren't too threatening, but will respawn anytime you die, and you've only got 3 hearts to work with. The enemies too are often placed in distant positions, making you work your way towards them. I also need to mention the invincibility system and the function of the main collectibles in the game, the tofu cubes. It actually took me a few levels to understand what was happening here. Get 50 cubes and invincibility auto-activates for 20 seconds or so, until your cubes are drained back to 0. This is never explicitly explained, and I thought I was being attacked by an unseen enemy the first time it activated. The timer is another key element. Not only are you always timed, but upon replaying levels, you have a ghost timer of your previous best. This lends to the breakneck speed at which you can race through these levels within a few minutes each, and seems particularly geared towards potential speedrunners, which I've seen the developers promoting on Twitter. Lastly, there's these bonus levels called Catch the Cousins. It's a challenge that's quite chill and complements the core game convention by contrast. You can play this twice per world, granted you rescue the pink egg dude during missions 2 and 4. Getting 75% of the cousins rewards you with a bomb. Extra ammo used during the boss fights that do massive damage, but we'll get into that later. Within the first world, the game shows off an exciting amount of variety, with each world focusing on a unique challenge that keeps the gameplay fresh. Whether it be racing from bunker to bunker while this invulnerable pill-shaped monster drops timed nukes, or you're trying to escape this impressive-looking worm monster as you dip, duck, and dive through their tunnels. Then we get to the first boss, which changes the gameplay to a side-scrolling cover shooter. Load your cannon with your 12 potential children you rescued throughout the worlds and the 2 bombs that you got from Catch the Cousins. Then make your way to the trigger and blast the boss with their spongy child Spinch bodies. The boss itself has a wicked design that's intimidating in its intricacy. Much like the best moments of the game, you're on your toes, but the patterns are fair and telegraphed. A big portion of the challenge is actually aiming your cannon to connect the most hits, to minimize the amount of time traveled back and forth between the load and fire buttons. Overall, the bosses are a highlight of the game. My first thoughts when I saw World 2 were, this is rad as hell. The environment is far slicker than the first world, and the music continuously impresses. Here the difficulty curve becomes noticeably steeper, where patience is now the name of the game. No longer are you zipping and zapping your way through these levels, but methodically tackling each segment. I would still chalk up the difficulty to, I see, but I suck. But then the game hits you with this wicked auto-scroller where you outrun this psychedelic tidal wave, returning to the fast-paced action at its fullest. But then there's the boss this time around has projectiles. While the first two phases are simple enough, it feels like you need to get lucky on his final form, which unfortunately becomes a prevailing theme through the bosses. World 3 brings you back down to Earth with this woody forest theme. I especially liked 3-1, where you need to navigate this constant barrage of wiggly creatures. Plus I felt cool when I discovered this bounce armor technique, which I'm not sure is intended, it might just be an exploit. World 3 stays fresh with design gimmicks, leading you to approach each level with an open mind, whether it be rematching the Pill God, or solving basic button puzzles to clear your path. Then you get to these dumb fuck tree monsters that one-shot you while you try to wall climb from the clutch of their giant mandibles. Here the platforming is precise and unforgiving, and I consider this one of the first really difficult levels. Also, I never found the final child here. I went back and replayed this one for nearly half an hour and never found it. Then, let me take a moment to pour one out for the first half of this game. Guys, I hate the second half of this game. Why? Water level. The gimmick of the whole fourth world is swimming through this pink space goo and a gauntlet of the worst designed levels in the game. The game pace crawls to a halt. Where it took me roughly 20 minutes to beat each of the first 3 worlds respectively, now it's taking me 20 to 30 minutes to beat each individual level. Here I constantly felt like I was being cheated. Either Spinch doesn't stop moving in time, or I get clipped by the ambiguous hitbox of one of these floating enemies. It just doesn't seem like the same game at this point. Then we come to 4-3. Go with the flow. Fuck this level. While the title is Go with the Flow, the gimmick is quite the opposite, but I'll get to that momentarily. The level revolves around these blue streams of goo that move you in a predetermined direction, like pocket auto-scrolling segments. Dashing is useless. This is micro-movement the level. You have to slowly weave between these spike blocks that often involve several passes until you memorize where all of the hazards are. There's even this troll segment with a hellhole loop if you fuck up. Then, after grinding this level death after death, I discovered you can hold the opposite direction of the current to slow your automatic movement rate, literally moving against the flow. I found this level near impossible without this technique that is never shared with you from the game or through its design. I was going to make a usual video of me having fun with this game, but 4-3 inspired me to write this review. At this point I'm not at all excited to see 4-4, and I was considering quitting the game even, but I wanted to see what World 5 had to offer. To its credit, the World 4 boss, while still underwater, is a lot of fun. It's a well-designed challenge, and I will admit the level itself is a cool integration of water and land platforming. World 5 is back on the ground, thank God. But now the ground is either slick ice, disappearing snow blocks, or this thick snow that slows your movement. The visual design of World 5 is also a letdown, designed in monochromatic blues, as opposed to the mysterious space of World 2, the bright treetops of World 3, or even the contrasting pinks and blues of World 4. At this point, I've lost all enthusiasm for Spinch, but I soldier on. World 3-5 is the second level I really despise. It's a stop and go section in which it's difficult to acquire any momentum, and it obliterated my patience. Between the onslaught of moving enemies and the loose footing of the ice, I was often in disbelief that I was getting hit. Really? Why did I get hit by that? The final stretch of this level, past the last checkpoint, is exceptionally brutal, with each death sending you back minutes of gameplay, making you endure these segments repeatedly. Just look at this setback. World 5 caps off with this breakneck auto-scroller in which you flee from this dope-looking ice-eating machine monster. The level was a highlight of the world, getting back to that fast-paced action that I love in Spinch. However, the Switch can't seem to keep up with everything happening here, and the level suffers from heavy frame stutters and a disappointing amount of lag. The boss of this world is another platform-intensive one with a creative spider-like design. This one by far is the most aggressive, with unrelenting position tracking projectiles. Last but not least, we get into World 6, and this is a fair point to tell you that I was unable to finish this game. This one broke me. I lost all interest in playing Spinch and put it down. Now bear with me because I do think this game is fun and worth playing for the price. Hell, I'd even recommend it if you like platformers or generally want a challenging video game. But World 6, man. To start, I'll give it props. This thing has got a gnarly design. but you'll notice there's only one level instead of the standard 4 before the boss. All 12 kids are lost within this massive maze, which as far as I've seen, has this shifting gravity mechanic that's pretty cool. But then you run into these giant gum monsters that one-shot you. They have ambiguous acceleration, and it seems that their speed always scales in order to be right behind you, and will chase you through the shifting gravity as well. Any slip-ups mean death, with checkpoints few and far between. In fact, the first checkpoint is optional, hidden in this little alcove unlike any before it. This level also has no tofu cubes, meaning you can't use invincibility. I think a more generous checkpoint system would be a simple fix to this rage-inducing level, but that is not the case. To end this mixed review, I'm just going to break down the section that broke me. So I spawn. Run away from this gum monster through a genuinely challenging gravity maze. Then you barely get to safety and take a brief respite through the more traditional platforming segment. Then you get to the second gum monster and go through a non-linear maze in which he fakes you out. If you die here, you're sent all the way back, like 2 minutes of gameplay. For all the adrenaline pumping action I just experienced, I've made no progress. That's alright. I'll learn from my mistakes and beat the section the next time. I just need to— oh crap! I died on the first gum monster. Whew! I finally made it back to the second one. Shit! I fell for the same fake out again. Shit! I flubbed my precise input. Shit! I got clipped by its massive hitbox. It doesn't matter, I got sent back. 2 minutes of stressful second-to-second decision-making for nothing. Emotionally and mentally exhausted in this brutal obstacle course. And then, against all odds, I barely make it past the part I've been stuck on, but flub the next tricky jump because I was unprepared and I'm still focused on this gum monster. After a few retries, I'm just autopiloting the first few segments to get back to where I died. Basically operating off of muscle memory, but at this point I'm having no fun. It's almost like watching a cutscene over and over. If I can do it 10 times, I can do it 10 more. Then I die and have to play the cutscene again. My lasting impression is every time I turn on Spinch, I'm optimistic. I love the design, I love the colors, the sounds, the character. The whole experience feels cool, but within a few minutes, I'm frustrated and tired of playing the game. 5 out of 10, play it, or don't, I don't care. Support indie games, make your own decisions, live life to the fullest, get off YouTube, go for a run, eat some veggies, crack a beer, call your friends, get in the car, hit the highway, wait you're drunk, crash, dead, yes, you are dead. Did you live your life to the fullest? Huh? I can't hear you.
Aye, aye, Captain!
Like, subscribe, comment, beat her out. Peace.